Stop everything you're doing right now. Before YouTube takes this video down, listen carefully. What if I told you that everything you believe about death is wrong? Imagine an ancient secret text that claims to chart exactly what happens the instant you take your final breath. Or scripture so powerful, it doesn't just describe the afterlife, it guides you through it. But here's the twist. Miss even a single moment of this journey, and you risk eternal entrapment. Tita, you going to unlock the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a sacred map created over a millennium ago, and back again. It's designed to lead us to the edge of existence. Watching this could transform everything. How you live, how you face death, and what you truly believe about life. But be warned, once you see this, there is no turning back. Are you prepared to face the ultimate truth? Think about it. Despite all our modern science, despite our cutting-edge technology, one question still haunts us. What really happens after death? The reality is, we're no closer to that answer than the mystics of ancient Tibet. And maybe that's exactly why this book continues to hold such haunting power, why it still fascinates minds around the world. It dares to answer the one question we're all too afraid to ask. For centuries, this text has captivated monks, mystics, and even modern scientists. Why? Because it presents a radical idea that consciousness doesn't die with the body. Instead, it continues on a journey through invisible realms, each stage holding immense potential for liberation or rebirth. But it gets even more bizarre. These ancient teachings align with present-day near-death experiences. People revived from clinical death often describe a radiant light, encounters with spiritual beings, and a deep sense of peace. Is this merely coincidence? Or are we catching a glimpse of the true nature of consciousness itself? Just imagine the implications. What if these ancient insights could unlock hidden truths about the mind, our awareness, and our very sense of self? What if exploring this sacred text could reshape how we see the world and how we experience it in ways we've never imagined? The potential here is nothing short of groundbreaking. A bridge between timeless spiritual understanding and today's most advanced consciousness research. But here's the real twist. The Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't just a map of dying. Its real power lies in how it transforms the way we live. By confronting us with death and reminding us of life's impermanence, it pushes us to live with clarity, purpose, and a compassion that few of us ever truly embody. It's not merely a guide for the departing. It's a wake-up call for those still breathing. As you listen, you might feel both awe and discomfort. That's exactly what it's designed to stir within you. So I urge you, keep your mind open as we go deeper, because to truly grasp this sacred wisdom, we must explore its roots and the visionary who first brought it to light. Are you prepared to meet the extraordinary soul behind this timeless knowledge? Let's begin. What if I told you the Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't solely meant for those at the brink of death? What if it's actually a map created to guide anyone navigating life's most profound transitions? At the core of this remarkable teaching lies the concept of the Bardo in Tibetan Buddhism. The Bardo isn't only the space between death and rebirth. It's any transitional period where the known world collapses, revealing a gateway to deep transformation. Think about it. How many times in your life have you felt stuck between what used to be and what hasn't here yet arrived? Those uncertain moments, those intense periods of change, each one is a Bardo. Now here's where the Tibetan Book of the Dead, also known as the Bardo Thodol, goes even further. It outlines not one, but three significant Bardos, each symbolizing a vital phase in consciousness and offering powerful chances for awakening and evolution. Are you ready? Truly ready to explore these mysterious realms? First, we step into the initial Bardo, the moment of death. But don't picture it as a final curtain. Instead, vision a brilliant explosion of raw awareness. A flash of ultimate clarity, where life's most hidden truths become visible. Next, we move into the second Bardo, the Bardo of visions. Imagine yourself engulfed by stunning visions, both blissful and horrifying, spinning around you like a sacred dance of light and shadow. But here's the twist. These visions aren't coming from outside. We'll return to that thought soon. Finally, we reach the third Bardo, the edge of rebirth. Now imagine your consciousness, no longer tied to the body, standing before a new beginning, where each thought, each longing, molds the shape of your next reality. And here's where the Tibetan Book of the Dead reveals something truly radical. Tia, you don't need to die to encounter these realms. Every single day contains moments of transition, each one offering a chance for spiritual awakening. That strange disoriented feeling between sleep and waking, that's a brief death, a glimpse into the Bardo. Those rare, transcendent moments when you're fully immersed in creation, when time vanishes. You're brushing against the Bardo of visions. And each time you're faced with a major life decision, weighing which path to take, you're entering your personal Bardo of rebirth. Now, as we approach the doorway of this ancient knowledge, we're ready to go even deeper. What actually unfolds in that critical moment when life slips from your grasp? Get ready, because we're about to enter the core of the first Bardo, the moment of death, where the greatest chance for liberation lies. Picture it. You're standing at the edge of all you've ever known. Ahead of you is a radiant, boundless light, so intense and infinite, it feels like it holds the very meaning of existence. Behind you are fading echoes, the life you once lived melting into silence. This is the gateway of death, the place where Tibetan teachings and modern near-death research finally meet. Are you prepared to step beyond that shimmering threshold? Because in this one extraordinary moment, Tibetan wisdom reminds us, death is not just a biological end. It's a sacred passage, a divine crossing, that could lead to ultimate liberation. Picture the moment your final breath escapes, your heartbeat slows to stillness, and your physical senses fall into silence. But your consciousness, no longer tethered to the body, is more awake, more vibrant than ever before. This is the threshold of infinite potential. The ancient scriptures call it the clear light, a radiant brilliance, blinding in its purity, shining forth as the very essence of mind itself. According to Tibetan teachings, this light isn't a dream or comforting illusion. It is reality, the ultimate truth behind all existence, the source of everything you've ever perceived. In this sacred instant, you're offered a glimpse of the universe unveiled, without the distortions of thought, emotion, or form. And here's where the stakes reach their peak. If you can recognize this light as your true nature, your own awareness, you can attain complete liberation in a single flash. Just imagine it, breaking forever from the endless cycle of birth and death, reaching a state of boundless freedom beyond imagination. But this moment is both immense and fleeting. The clear light appears only briefly, a flash of infinity, and then it fades. For many, this rare chance slips away like a fading dream. Those who are unready, who haven't nurtured this awareness during life, may find the brilliance too intense, even terrifying. Instead of seeing it as their own true nature, they mistake it for something foreign, something outside of themselves, and with that fear comes withdrawal. The consciousness recoils, going deeper into the shifting landscapes of the Bardos, drifting away from awakening and toward. Consider the deeper truths hidden within this teaching. It proposes that in the final breath of life, you're given one last, extraordinary chance to reach enlightenment, a moment potentially more potent than any other in your entire existence. It is the ultimate trial of awareness, a moment that even seasoned spiritual masters spend their entire lives preparing to meet. But what if you could prepare too? What if your final moment didn't have to be filled with fear and confusion, but instead with clarity and liberation? Here's the astonishing insight offered by the Bardo Thotal. This opportunity isn't exclusive to death. Tibetan masters teach that through dedicated meditation and spiritual practice, one can encounter glimpses of the clear light even while still alive. These rare moments of transcendence act as rehearsals, training your mind to meet the final truth with strength, awareness, and grace. So, how do we prepare for such a defining moment? It's through mindfulness, meditation, and spiritual discipline. You begin to shape the mind to recognize the clear light when it appears. This is why Tibetan practitioners devote years, often entire lifetimes, to mastering the art of conscious awareness. The more you practice, the more capable you become of recognizing that light for what it truly is when the time comes. Just imagine preparing for death not as an act of dread, but as a sacred journey toward divine liberation. Yet, for many, the path doesn't end with the clear light. For those unable to fully embrace it, the journey continues into realms of vivid, sometimes overwhelming experience, Here, the mind gives shape to its own inner projections, visions that are both beautiful and terrifying, manifesting from our deepest fears, desires, and attachments. Imagine stepping beyond the brilliance of the light, deeper into mystery, only to find yourself inside a cosmic theater. You are now surrounded by radiant beings of awe-inspiring beauty and monstrous figures of incredible power. But here's the twist. These entities are not separate from you. They are reflections of your own psyche, embodiments of every fear you've buried, every longing you've clung to, every wound you've never healed. This is the second Bardo, the Bardo of visions, a journey through your subconscious mind, on a scale more profound than anything you've ever known. Are you prepared to face the truth about? In this stage, the mind encounters spirits, both peaceful and wrathful, that reflect the very essence of all you carry within. The Bardo of visions doesn't just present divine or terrifying imagery. It reveals the deepest, most hidden layers of your being. Every peaceful deity mirrors your highest virtues, the most enlightened qualities within you, and every wrathful deity embodies the parts of yourself you've feared, rejected, or suppressed. Each form, whether god or demon, stands as a mirror, asking, will you recognize these figures as fragments of your own soul, or will you recoil in fear? Let's begin with the peaceful spirits. Imagine yourself enveloped by radiant beings, glowing with compassion, wisdom, and an unshakable peace. You may behold the Buddha of infinite light, a symbol of pure awareness and unconditional love, or visions that reflect your mind's potential for perfect clarity and balance. Their presence is not just soothing, it's overwhelming, stirring a sense of awe and reverence that reaches your core. But here lies the true test. Can you recognize these luminous forms as projections of your own inner being? Can you accept them as the purest version of yourself? If you can, the path ends here. You've reached liberation. But for many, this encounter with divine brilliance becomes too intense. The unprepared mind, unable to recognize its own radiance, starts to retreat, and as the mind withdraws, the vision shifts. The gentle light darkens. The serene faces twist into fierce expressions. Now you are surrounded by wrathful spirits, powerful forces of blazing energy, with faces of fire and fury. These fearsome beings are not enemies, but raw manifestations of what remains unresolved within you. Anger, fear, envy, attachment. The Supreme Being, with countless arms and fiery eyes, hasn't come to destroy, but to compel you to confront what you've hidden for so long. Can you stand before these forces without running? Can you face them not as punishments, but as revelations? The purpose of these visions is deeply transformative. Tease. The second Bardo isn't about judgment or blind faith. It's an invitation, a chance to witness the raw, unfiltered truth of your own psyche. The Tibetan Book of the Dead teaches that both peaceful and wrathful deities are like shadows cast by your own consciousness, magnifying everything that lies within. They show you the full blueprint of your existence, the attachments you clung to, the fears that shaped you, filters that invite you to embrace every corner of your mind. But if you fail to realize this truth, fear drives you to withdraw. The path ahead only becomes darker. So ask yourself, are you truly ready to witness your soul unveiled? Can you look into the divine mirror and accept whatever appears? The next version of your soul is about to unfold, and it's molded entirely by the essence of who you've become. This isn't a peaceful drift through the afterlife, it's a chaotic, creative storm. These aren't arbitrary scenes. They are the mirror of your inner state. If you've nurtured compassion, insight, and integrity, the visions may be radiant and hopeful, guiding you toward a life of higher possibilities. But if your life has been dominated by fear, rage, or clinging desire, the visions may turn stormy, turbulent, and full of unrest. Every choice, every buried longing, and every secret fear now rises to the surface, generating the form of the reality that lies ahead. It's because the next step leads you even deeper, where the decisions made here will shape the very essence of your being. You are simultaneously the artist and the artwork, designing the foundation of your own rebirth. This is the realm where karma manifests in real form, drawing you toward the life that reflects the truth of your journey, including all you've acted upon and all you've yet to reconcile. Now picture yourself adrift in a vast, formless ocean. The life you once knew has faded. Yet an unseen pull draws you forward, a force as irresistible as gravity, leading you toward a new state of being. You've entered the Bardo of rebirth, the third and final stage in the passage beyond death. In this space, every thought, every lingering emotion, and each karmic trace becomes the compass that determines your next incarnation. Your consciousness, stripped of illusion, now acts as a magnet, attracting the ingredients of your future life. The takes are nothing short of cosmic. In the Bardo of rebirth, there are no masks, no filters, no escape. Imagine yourself enveloped by a cascade of visions, faces, places, entire realms, each representing a possible destiny. Each potential rebirth calls to you, tugging at the subtle threads of your karma, aligning you with the path that most accurately mirrors your soul's condition. This isn't a judgment passed down by any divine authority. It's the mind's own reflection, revealing the harvest of your choices, intentions, and shadows. Your mind becomes a sacred compass, sensing with the realm whose frequency echoes your present state. Or will you be caught in the gravitational pull of your own unresolved care, looped into yet another cycle of birth and death? Picture this: the clarity or confusion you possess becomes a whirlwind of energy, drawing you into one future or another. And now, the intensity heightens. The thoughts and emotions you embrace in this Bardo, the states you refuse to release, actively mold your rebirth. Can you locate the stillness at the eye of that storm? Can you remain rooted in awareness, allowing it to guide you toward freedom instead of illusion? Now reflect on this. The visions that arise in the Bardo of rebirth aren't merely symbolic, they gateways. This Bardo reveals a piercing truth. You choose your next life like selecting from a menu. Your accumulated karma chooses for you. Each is a portal into dimensions that pulsate with your mind's own energetic imprint. These images reflect the strength of the emotions you've carried, the fears you buried, the cravings you clung to, the dreams you never fulfilled. It says as if you rewatching a reel of all your potential lives, a cinematic exposure to futures shaped by the weight of your past. And at the threshold of each portal stands a question: will you enter blindly, or will you step back, seeing the path not with reaction, but with presence and clarity? Every action, thought, and intention acts like a gravitational pull, drawing you toward a life aligned with your soul's present vibration. And while your conscious self might not be in full control, there's still a flicker of choice, subtle influence. You can hold on to awareness, a steady calm. You might still shift the direction. If you can detach and witness each vision as a reflection of your inner world, you might even rise above the pull entirely. In Tibetan Buddhism, this journey isn't just an abstract idea about the afterlife, it's a mirror reflecting how deeply our actions matter now. What if each compassionate act, every mindful moment, was shaping not just your present life, but infinite lives beyond? The third Bardo pushes us to face an undeniable truth. We are always generating the karma that fuels our soulless path. Our lives are intricately linked. Choice sends ripples that echo not just through today, but through all of time. Now ask yourself, if you're stuck in cycles of fear, rage, or longing, how do you escape? According to Tibetan teachings, it's through conscious living, mindfulness, self-inquiry, and deep meditation that we can change the energy that carries us forward. It's not about being good or avoiding mistakes. It's about truly seeing the patterns in your mind, understanding where they come from, and meeting them with clarity. The more conscious you are of your thoughts, the less power they have to drag you into the chaos of the Bardo of rebirth. When your moment comes, that awareness could be the difference between being caught and being free. This realm teaches that karma is neither punishment nor prize, it is a natural law. the echo of our mental imprints cast upon the canvas of reality. Seen in this way, every moment of presence you cultivate is a step toward liberation, a way to guide yourself toward a future marked by wisdom and insight. The third Bardo reveals a final, powerful insight. Your mind doesn't just react to reality, it generates it. Every moment, every decision, in both life and death. So ask yourself how much of your present life is shaped by blind habits or unconscious fear. How often do your actions come from clarity, and how often from automatic reaction? The Bardo of rebirth reminds us of something radical. Every single moment holds the power to change your soul's direction. Okay? And now, the burning question. If you had the chance to alter the course of your next life right now, what path would you choose, in this exact moment? And more importantly, how will you begin to create it? But as a sacred invitation to transform. Imagine meeting death not as a final stop, but as the most important passage you will ever take, not as an end. Transformation, this isn't merely poetic talk. In Tibetan Buddhism, it's a fundamental practice. Life is seen as a preparation ground where every thought, every breath, every action becomes training for the final transition. What if each moment of mindfulness was actually a rehearsal for your soul's greatest voyage? Now imagine this. What if you could approach death with the same awareness and skill you try to bring to living? Tibetan Buddhism provides a toolkit not only for the dying, but for the living. Picture the final breath, your mind focused like an arrow aimed at liberation. This practice isn't about clinging to life or resisting death, it's about releasing it all, while consciously guiding your awareness into a higher state. Could this be the ancient secret to peace, regardless of how life ends? These practices cultivate clarity, fearlessness, and compassion, qualities essential for facing the unknown. One of the most profound techniques is called consciousness transference. Because when you face the visions and energies of the afterlife, a heart grounded in love can turn fear into freedom. These aren't just syllables, they're energy frequencies that shift your mind toward higher consciousness. Each mantra becomes like a tuning fork, aligning your awareness with the cosmic rhythm. Let's bring this into your everyday life. Begin your mornings with a meditation on impermanence, the truth that life is temporary and sacred. This awareness changes how you experience everything. Through daily mantra practice, you're training your mind to meet both life and death with steadiness and inner strength. It sharpens your perception, deepens your choices. It's like rewiring your mind to see life through the lens of eternity. What if, instead of fearing death, you treated each day like a sacred chance to grow, to feel, to love more deeply? In Tibetan Buddhism, this reminder of impermanence isn't depressing, it's empowering. You begin to feel the deep unity between yourself and the rest of humanity. It gives you resilience and clarity, so when death finally arrives, you meet it with calm readiness, not fear. Another powerful tool is Tonglen, a compassion practice rooted in Tibetan tradition. Envision breathing in the pain of others and, breathing out, healing, love, and peace. It may seem simple, but it radically expands your awareness. This isn't just about becoming a kinder human, it's about dissolving the illusion of separation. In Tibetan belief, compassion isn't optional, it's crucial. Ka. Now, think about mantras, ancient sound vibrations chanted across centuries. Ka. Imagine the inner stillness, the focused awareness that arises from repeating these sacred sounds. Tibetan Buddhists don't only use mantras for death, they use them to live better, to connect with the now. Now let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. These Tibetan practices go far beyond mere rituals. They are powerful tools that can completely transform how you view life itself. When you begin to recognize each moment as sacred and every action as meaningful, your entire mindset shifts. Trivial worries fade into the background, replaced by clarity, purpose, and direction. And that's the real magic of preparing for death while still alive. You no longer live in fear or confusion. Instead, you gain strength, peace, and certainty, knowing you're ready for whatever lies ahead. Imagine if even a small part of this philosophy became part of our culture. Rather than avoiding death, we could engage with it, learn from it, and let it shape how we choose to live. For Tibetan Buddhists, death isn't a shadow to escape. It's one of life's greatest teachers, urging us to live with deeper courage and authenticity. It's not about escaping death, but embracing life so fully that when death comes, it feels like a continuation, not a rupture. Could accepting this view lead us to live with more joy and less fear? What if staring death in the face was the very thing that made life truly free? These teachings aren't reserved for secluded monks in distant temples. They reopen to anyone willing to treat life as sacred preparation for something far beyond this world. So why postpone it? Begin now. Let these ancient practices reshape not just your final chapter, but every moment that leads to it. Here's the ultimate question. How will you get ready for that final journey? And how will that readiness transform how you live today? Let me know in the comments. Now picture this. You're on your deathbed, surrounded by people you love, Atana. But instead of stillness or comforting, Kana's sacred voice softly begins to speak, offering a roadmap to a world no one else in the room can see. These aren't just words. They are instructions, a spiritual GPS that can help you navigate the mystery of the afterlife, and maybe even escape the wheel of rebirth. This is on fantasy. It's the lived experience of those who use the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Bardo, as a guide for conscious dying, to visualize what happens in a Tibetan monastery. As someone nears the end of life, a lama, a spiritual master of the teachings, sits beside them. The lama begins to chant from the Bardo, describing in vivid, precise language the stages the soul will travel through after death. These sacred readings aren't just soothing sounds, they're deeply purposeful, offering the soul direction in a realm most people can't even fathom. This tradition elevates end-of-life care to something extraordinary, treating death not as a loss, but as the most meaningful transformation of all. Now, think about the contrast. In many modern cultures, death is met with clinical distance, hushed tones, or outright denial. But in Tibetan Buddhism, death is a journey to be prepared for with intention and reverence. The Bardo serves as a sacred compass, guiding the soul through dazzling lights, peaceful deities, and terrifying demons, all intense projections that arise in the space after death. But here's the astonishing insight. None of these beings or images are external. They are your own mind, your inner world made visible. Can you imagine having someone beside you at death, helping you see these visions for what they are, so you can stay aware, grounded, and free from panic in the most intense experience of your life? The Bardo isn't just a book to be read aloud. It's a training manual for piercing through illusion. It's for recognizing the drama of death as a projection of your own consciousness. And in that very first moment, the flash of clear light, your guide softly urges you to merge with it, to recognize that light as your own truest essence. Just think of the difference that could make, being steered toward liberation instead of falling back into the same cycle. This teaching invites us to see death, not as a dead end, but as the greatest opportunity we'll ever face. Think of them as a trusted navigator, someone who helps you steer through the most uncharted territories of existence. This guide, deeply rooted in the teachings of the Bardos, serves as a stabilizing force, reminding you of the inner wisdom you nurtured during your lifetime. They don't just accompany you, they ground you amidst the chaos of powerful visions, gently guiding your awareness back to the clear light, pure consciousness, beyond all illusion. This is one of the most profound acts of compassion in Tibetan culture, someone walking beside you at the threshold, bridging dimensions, offering clarity when you're on the cusp of the unknown. Now think about the instructions given to someone who is dying. They are advised not to be afraid of the radiant light that appears as the consciousness begins to separate from the physical body. Instead, they are encouraged to welcome it, to recognize it as the very essence of their own mind. Every part of this journey is laid out, from the serene deities symbolizing compassion to the wrathful ones, representing repressed fears and desires. Imagine how completely different your experience of dying could be if you met each of these figures, not as threats, but as mirrors and opportunities for awakening. Reflect on how this differs from most Western approaches, where death is often reduced to a medical condition rather than honored as a sacred transition. In Tibetan Buddhism, dying is viewed not just as a biological event, but as a deeply spiritual passage. This outlook compels us to rethink how we care for those at the end of life. Imagine the serenity of approaching death, not with dread, but as a sacred unfolding, a guided passage into deeper knowing. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is more than a book. It's a spiritual companion offering support as the boundary between life and death begins to blur. But you may wonder, can these ancient insights really serve us in the modern world? Here's the profound truth. The mysteries of death aren't just for monks or mystics. Anyone can embrace the lessons of the Bardo thought by living more intentionally. It's cultivating awareness and treating life itself as preparation for the ultimate transition. What if, instead of pushing death aside, you welcomed it as a guide? Imagine the depth it would bring to each day, knowing that you already prepared for the moment everything changes, ready to face it with a clear and courageous heart. As we continue exploring the wisdom of the Bardo thought, let this ancient knowledge remind you, life and death are not separate. By learning to die consciously, we are learning to live with deep presence and fearless awareness. So ask yourself, how might your life shift if every single day was preparation for this sacred journey? How would your choices evolve, your presence deepen? If you were ready to meet death, not with fear, but with clarity, openness, and profound inner stillness. What if I told you that through facing death, you could unlock a life of profound purpose, sharp clarity, and even quiet joy? Imagine living each day with the awareness that any breath could be your last. Wouldn't that change how you love, how you act, and how you see the people around you? The Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't merely for the dying, it as a bold map for those who seek to live with complete freedom and presence. Right now, we often view death as something forbidden, the shadow we avoid. But what if that very fear is the barrier keeping us from a life of real meaning? The teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead invite us to confront death directly, using it not as a threat, but as a gateway for deep transformation. In the face of death, all superficial concerns vanish, and only what is real remains. What if we met life's changes, big or small, with that same conscious stillness? Every heartbreak, every job lost, every uncertain turning point, these are all smaller deaths, bardos, transitions. And each one contains a hidden doorway into rebirth and reinvention. That is the heart of Tibetan wisdom. Every ending is silently preparing the stage for a new beginning. But how do we carry this perspective into everyday life? Let's begin with one profound yet simple practice: meditating on. Tibetan practitioners begin each day by reminding themselves how fleeting life truly is, a powerful anchor to focus on what really matters. Imagine starting every morning with the deep realization that today is a rare and sacred chance, that every second counts. This mental shift can completely transform how you move through the world. Now consider this next practice, the exchange of energy. Here's how it works. With every inhale, you visualize absorbing the suffering and pain of others. And as you exhale, you send out compassion, love, and healing. This practice doesn't just change your heart, it gently prepares you for the final surrender when your time comes. Imagine living each day with that kind of openness, deeply connected to the sorrow and joy of every being around you. And then there's the practice of recognizing the clear light of awareness. Tibetan wisdom urges us to look beyond the noise of our daily lives, to notice moments of stillness and clarity as glimpses into a deeper, eternal truth. Each time you stop and feel fully present, timeless, spacious, awake, you're touching the same awareness spoken of in the Bardo of Death. Now picture carrying that same grounded awareness into your routine, into your work, your relationships, even your struggles. What might that change in how you respond, in how you live? What if every interaction, every decision, even every breath, is treated like your last? Suddenly, meaningless drama dissolves, so your relationships become more sincere, and every moment starts to shimmer with depth and wonder. By embracing these teachings, you're not just preparing to die, you're learning how to truly live, not an autopilot, but with intention, clarity, and fierce presence. Let's go. There's a kind of liberation in this way of seeing, because when you learn to die consciously, you begin to live courageously. The Tibetan Book of the Dead offers this radical invitation. Live each moment with the same awareness you'd bring to your final breath. What if, by facing death head-on, you uncovered a life more beautiful and meaningful than you ever imagined? So now the question arises, How can you bring this ancient wisdom into your daily life, into your choices, your relationships, your breath? What might happen if you treated every day like an opportunity to wake up, to live as if today were the final page of your story? Because now we're going even deeper into how this timeless guidance can become not just a roadmap for dying, but a guide to fearless, purpose-driven living. Now pause and imagine this. An ancient Tibetan manuscript, over 1,000 years old, might actually hold insights into the very questions that modern science still can't answer. What is consciousness? Can the mind exist beyond death? And if it can, what does that mean for how we live right now? This isn't some mystical folklore. Today, psychologists, neuroscientists, and philosophers are diving into the Tibetan Book of the Dead with the same passion they once reserved for microscopes and brain scans. And here's where everything shifts. What if the Tibetan sages were right all along? What if consciousness does survive beyond the body? That changes everything. How we view pain, attachment, and even the purpose of life itself. We're only scratching the surface. But here's one truth we keep circling back to. The more we understand about the process of death, the more we realize it's not just about leaving this world. It's about discovering deeper dimensions of awareness within this one. Picture living with the knowledge that death is not a black void, but a doorway, a transformation, a return to the raw, infinite space of consciousness. We're standing at the edge of something extraordinary, where ancient spirituality and modern science are beginning to align, revealing truths that could reshape what it means to be alive. So let me ask again, are you ready to see your life, your mind, and your destiny through this new lens? 'Cause what comes next might rewrite everything you thought you knew about life, about death, and about the very fabric of reality. Now consider this final truth. Death, far from being a dark ending, is actually our greatest teacher in the art of how to live. As we've walked through the teachings of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, we've discovered timeless insights that go beyond religion or culture. This ancient guide, Dosan T, Just Talk About Death, challenges us to look at our own mortality with honesty, courage, and even curiosity. What if you began each day with that awareness, that time is short, that every interaction could be your last? What might you prioritize differently? How would your relationships evolve? Drop your thoughts in the comments. As Trungpa Rinpoche said, the whole thing is based on another way of looking at the psychological picture of ourselves in terms of a practical meditative situation. And that's the core shift, viewing life not as a series of goals or identities, but as a continuous unfolding of birth and death, moment to moment. Every transition is a kind of small death, every insight, a rebirth. This exploration is only the beginning. If you're ready to go deeper, if you're ready to question everything you thought was true about who you are, then don't miss our next video. You are not human. You are human. It will change how you see yourself forever. Let us know in the comments if you're ready to explore more hidden truths. And if this video resonated, just type yes below, because your voice, your reflections, and your curiosity are what fuel this journey. You're not just a viewer here, you're part of the philosophical essence family, and together, we're unlocking the mysteries that matter. So keep questioning, keep seeking, and above all, keep shining your light.